There's a phrase that a lot of people who are learning about Bitcoin, who own Bitcoin, who study Bitcoin use, and it really pisses a lot of people off. And that phrase is have fun staying poor. In this video, I want to explain to you what have fun staying poor really means and why I don't think you should be offended when somebody says that to you. Let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to use to explain this point is the Price in Bitcoin 21 website and their chart for United States median new houses. So we can see here, in terms of Bitcoin, the price of a house has constantly gone down. And we can see here, it actually went down since my last video. I think the last video that I made about real estate was 2 days ago. It went down even more since then. So at that point, it was about 4.25 Bitcoin per house. Today, it's 4.14. So you can see here, the price of a house is constantly going down in terms of Bitcoin. What people mean by have fun staying poor is that your cost of living will constantly increase if you save in anything other than Bitcoin. And that refers to dollars, that refers to every fiat currency, that refers to stocks, refers to real estate. I mean, you can see the chart here. We see that in terms of Bitcoin, the price of houses is constantly going down. So if you're saving in real estate, your savings are slowly disappearing. When we look at the world in terms of dollars, everything gets more expensive over time. No matter what you have, no matter what you're buying, no matter how low quality it is, no matter how much worse it became over the last few years, everything gets more expensive over time. We can see that for houses. If we look through this website, we can see it for crude oil, gold, S&P 500. We can see it for everything. If we look at eggs, for example, the price of eggs has gone up from 81 cents for a dozen to $2 or $3.20 per dozen. In terms of Bitcoin, it's gone from 0.16 Bitcoin for a dozen eggs to 0.000031 Bitcoin for a dozen eggs. That's a loss of something like 99.9%. Now let's take a look at the price of lumber. So we can see here lumber per 1,000 board feet. This is how you measure lumber. In this case, we can see here it went from 217 US dollars all the way up to 553 US dollars. No wonder the price of housing is going up. It's because lumber, one of the raw materials, one of the inputs for real estate, for building houses, has increased significantly over time. In terms of Bitcoin, though, we can see the price. It went from 19.24 Bitcoin to 0.54 Bitcoin to 0.03 Bitcoin to 0.01 Bitcoin, and now 0.005268 Bitcoin. So all that this phrase, have fun staying poor, means is that if you save in dollars, you're going to get poorer over time no matter what. But it actually goes a little bit deeper. A lot of people today save in the S&P 500. They save by buying shares of companies that they think will do well over time. So we can see here in fiat currencies, the S&P 500 has constantly gone up. It keeps going up. It went from $1,132 for the S&P 500 for that list of 500 companies. You just buy one share, you pay $1,132 versus today it's costing $5,338. So you see that the value of your savings has gone up 5 times. If we look at it in terms of Bitcoin, we can see here what cost $1,100 in August 2011 cost 100 Bitcoin. And over time, that number has gone down. So we can see here, in terms of US dollars, the value of your S&P 500 savings will continue to go up. It went from $1,100 to $1,700, but now in terms of Bitcoin, it only costs 1.79 Bitcoin. That's in December of 2013. And if we move a little bit further down here, we can see in terms of US dollars, it's gone to 2,662, while in Bitcoin, it's down to 0.16. So the S&P 500 is losing a massive amount of value in terms of Bitcoin. And now if we take a look at NVIDIA, this is one of the only assets that's actually outperformed Bitcoin over the last 5 years. NVIDIA is up 2,093%, almost 2,100%, while Bitcoin is up 1,400%. But a lot of people don't see that this is not an accurate or valid comparison. NVIDIA has a lot of things that could go wrong. So for example, if their supply chain gets changed in any way, if their executive team starts making terrible decisions, if their executive team starts diluting the shareholders, if there's more competitors, A lot of things could go wrong in terms of Nvidia. Let's say there's a major technology change. Do you think Nvidia will be able to keep up? On the other hand, with something like Bitcoin, Bitcoin is a savings tool. There's not as much risk involved with Bitcoin, at least the way that I see it, based on what I've studied, based on what I understand about Bitcoin. There's not as much risk involved in Bitcoin as there is in Nvidia. I would personally choose to put my entire portfolio into Bitcoin over Nvidia. And the reason is that Nvidia is an investment, Bitcoin is a savings tool. Nvidia is one of the only companies in the world that's outperforming Bitcoin. So that's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Nvidia is an investment while Bitcoin is a savings tool, meaning that Nvidia has a lot of risks, a lot of different kinds of things that could go wrong, which can't go wrong with Bitcoin because Bitcoin doesn't have any humans involved in controlling it or making decisions. So this phrase, have fun staying poor, is a way to get you to start thinking about where the US dollar is going in the coming years. You can save in US dollars, and most people do. Most people do save in US dollars. Most people save in real estate. Most people save in stocks. Bitcoin is massively outperforming against all of those things in general. If we compare Bitcoin as a savings tool to all of these other asset classes, you are going to get poorer over time. Your purchasing power won't increase as fast as it should. So let's say over the next 5 years, the global stock market doubles, maybe the real estate market rises 50%, maybe the bond market rises 10, 15%. I don't know what those numbers could be. Maybe gold rises another 20%. In that same time period, Bitcoin will probably 10x. So while it may sound toxic and you may get offended when people tell you to have fun staying poor, their goal, at least in my opinion, is positive. They're just trying to tell you that the current financial system is a trap and Bitcoin is the only way out. If you're going to save in the current financial system, you're going to be saving for 30, 40, 50 years. You may never get to retire. In terms of Bitcoin, you may be able to save for 10, 15 years, and you'll probably be way further ahead than you would be in the legacy financial system after saving 40, 50 years.